Politician. I'm Brad Pomerance in the Inland Empire. Today I'm so glad you're with us, and we're joined by Mike Soubirous. He is a Riverside City Council member and quite a writer, if I may say.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, you published an op-ed in the Press Enterprise, the paper of record here in the Inland Empire, and I want to speak with you about it. The title being City has experienced revolution, reformation.
Yes, we have.
Those are strong R's to talk about.
Yes.
Let's talk about before the revolution, before the Reformation. What was going on with city elected officials and city staff?
Well, you know, I think it's not unique to Riverside, but it's something that I think most cities experience in a way that you get, you know, maybe management might be a little bit strong where they want to kind of corral some of their electeds and move things in the direction that they want to move them in. You've got some electeds that come on board that are maybe stronger than others as far as their ability to flex their muscles on behalf of the people.
And what's so interesting about Riverside, it's kind of in this middle space where having a population of over 300,000, that's a decent sized city. And so your electeds, by definition, will need to be more active.
Right.
But look, Riverside City Council members making $40,000 a year. That's tricky.
Right.
And so are you part-time, are you full-time? Whereas in LA, they're for sure full-time.
Right.
Whereas in Paris, for example, they're going to be much more part-time.
Very
it's a
much
smaller
part-time,
city. So that's the push-pull that you're dealing with here.
And in Riverside, the council members I work with, I mean, I can speak for myself. It's a full-time job. It's a 7-day-a-week accessibility all the time, especially by phone, social media, you know, texting. I mean, everybody gets to me every way they can, and you know, you want to answer back.
As a result of, I'll say it, some new members coming in to the city council, some retirements with paid staff.
Yes.
We did start to see some real reformation.
Yes,
and I want to go through that as outlined in your very well-written article. I don't mean to be a sycophant, but you know, I'm a former lawyer, so I like well-written, well-organized op-eds. Let's talk about Sunshine. It's been a passion of yours for so long. Talk to us how you created Sunshine in the Riverside City Council.
Well, actually, John Russo, our city manager, when we hired him, he had put forward a Sunshine Ordinance in Alameda, and they had done it. And it was very successful, and he had also done the same thing in his previous Oakland.
Right. He had been elected. He's interesting. Elected to the Oakland City Council. That's a real city.
Yes.
And then became
the first elected city attorney of Oakland, because they reformed and they made an elected position out of that, and he moved on over and became their first elected.
Right. But then he became
city
he went
manager.
to the other side.
Yeah. City manager of Alameda.
And now Riverside.
Yeah. Which, you know, that's great because he brings forth a platter of understanding the whole picture. It's
He
everything.
really understands what it's like to be elected.
Absolutely.
What it's like to be paid staff.
Yes.
So with regards to the Sunshine Ordinance, you now require that all agenda items be noticed with 12 days advanced notice. As we say.
The laws, you know, ask for 72 hours, and in some cases 24. But you know, with the Brown Act, but with us, we're going 12 days.
What if there's something that needs to be discussed? Are there at least exigencies?
There is a safety gap. What we did is I argued that, you know, a council member, if we're not voting on money or something that, you know, the public really needs to weigh in on, that's maybe procedural. Let's say something comes about at a meeting and it's like, wait a minute, no, that's not right. That's inhibiting our ability to, you know, put something forward or do whatever. We have a caveat written into the Sunshine Ordinance that allows us to be able to get a co-signer. If one other council member says, hey, you know what, we're going to bypass this 12-day thing and we're going to go with the 72 hours, you know, because of something that we need to talk about immediately, because of procedure, boom, we get to do it.
So there is, we're not being so dogmatic.
Right.
Let's talk about another element of what you see as part of the Reformation, and that's performance audits.
Very important.
What I like about what you said in here, it's not just about dollars and cents, which are important, of course, but you're looking at best practices.
Yes.
Explain that.
This is looking for, it's a deep dive performance audit that looks at, you know, comparing us as a city against other cities. You know, are our policies and procedures consistent with what a majority of others are doing, or are they way off base?
Right.
You know, it looks at everything. It's counting the beans. It's being a bean counter and making sure that all our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted.
So in going through that effort, I understand there was also a move to look at how you budget and how often you budget.
Yes.
And talk us through the notion of moving from a 1-year budget cycle to a 2-year budget cycle. which is part of the Reformation?
Well, one, it keeps staff from having to be always on the budget cycle where they're always working on that and not spending time working on the things they should. Most successful cities have a 2-year budget with 5-year projections. That's what we did. We have a 5-year projection built into these 2-year budgets. And we get a mid-year or a mid-cycle, once a year, kind of a, here's where we stand and it's coming up. We're going to have that. So it's a way of having just a more consistency, I think, in our budget cycles.
But look, we don't necessarily know what's going to happen in 6 months, 12 months, let alone 18 months.
Right.
So with a 2-year budget, is there wiggle room?
Absolutely.
So that's,
yes.
again, not too dogmatic.
We get quarterly reports, and it's a way of, if we have to infuse some money in there or readjust or do whatever, we can do that. It's not locked out.
Right.
Just like any 1-year budget really isn't, because things happen.
So as part of that transition, I know that the council engaged in a 4% spending cut across the board.
Absolutely.
Fortunately for the council, we now have Measure Z, which passed. We'll get to that in a second, which will ease the financial restrictions. But you've also looked at creating kind of a responsible spending outlook plan, a vision.
RSVP.
Right, I like it, which looks at increasing reserve, decreasing debt.
Yes.
Laudable goals, but how do you do that?
Yeah. And what we did is we made a pledge to pay down our debts. We have pension obligation bonds. More will be coming with some of the devaluation of the dollar for PERS. That's looming on the horizon. But we're setting up for some of these things, and we've made a commitment to the people that we will balance the needs of paying down our debts with some of the infrastructure that is falling behind. And it's a tough balance. But we are committed to doing that because we're recognizing that we do have a fiduciary responsibility to pay down the debt.
One area where I think Democrats and Republicans would agree, I know you're nonpartisan, but generally there seems to be increasing agreement, is that while regulation is important, sometimes it can be overburdensome.
And
we know we knew the new president's been talking about it as well. So as part of this Reformation, you're looking at Streamline Riverside. And how is that going?
Going quite well. We've actually won some awards even before implementation.
Oh, wow.
And it's a way of rolling out the red carpet and cutting the red tape and demonstrating such. And this has been an ongoing project for about 2.5 years, and it's really coming out to having a great, it's looking to have a great outcome.
It seems to me that your voters are, I guess I'll say, rewarding the city council for its efforts. In November, there was a sales tax increase on the ballot, 1 cent. That's a big number.
Very big.
And it passed with over 60% of the vote. Mind you, we're in Riverside, pretty purple area. And so that does say a lot that you were able to convince your voters to pass that sales tax increase.
And we're all very thankful. I'm not a tax and spend person, but without this, we really had doom and gloom on the horizon. I mean, when we discovered, looking through these to get to this 2-year budget cycle with the 5-year projections, we found that we were about $10.5 million to $11 million in the hole, based on what we had been told prior, that we had a $1 million surplus in our budget. So to show that we did the reforms and doing all the things, I can only equate that the voters thought that we were doing the right thing.
Is the revolution over, or does it continue?
I think a revolution always needs to happen in some degree, maybe not as big a
bang.
But
this revolution, are we in the middle of the revolution, or is a revolution ended?
I think the revolution has ended in a sense as far as the huge change. But I think in any given time with the Reformation that we have going on, is what I call it, is that's looking at things and processes on how we can do better. And I think in one's mind, we should always be thinking of revolution in that we should always be questioning what we're doing.
His name is Mike Soubirous. He is a councilman in the city of Riverside, where we are today. My name is Brad Pomerance. We thank you so much for joining us on Local Edition.